Have you ever looked around and noticed how quiet your world has become? Maybe the phone doesn't ring as often as it used to. Maybe the invitations have slowed down. Maybe friends have moved away, grown distant, or passed on. And maybe, just maybe, you've found yourself wondering, is this it now? Am I just alone? It's a thought that sneaks up on so many of us, especially after 70. You spend a lifetime building relationships, raising kids, helping neighbors, supporting friends, and then somewhere along the way, it all shifts. People change. Priorities change. And you're left sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a kind of quiet that used to feel peaceful, but now feels heavy. But here's something most people don't tell you. Being alone after 70 doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It doesn't mean your best years are behind you. And it definitely doesn't mean you're not still full of purpose and possibility. In fact, it might just be the beginning of a deeper kind of happiness. Now, I know that might sound strange. We've all grown up with the idea that friendships are essential, especially in our golden years. And sure, for some people, that's absolutely true. But not everyone thrives on a full calendar and a buzzing phone. Some of us find peace in our own company. Some of us grow stronger, more confident, even lighter, when we let go of the pressure to keep up with others and finally start listening to ourselves. So in this video, let's have an honest conversation. Not about how to make more friends, but about how to embrace the life you've already built. How to find joy in solitude. How to stop chasing the connections that drain you, and instead, pour your energy into something so many people overlook. The relationship you have with yourself. Let's begin with something that often gets misunderstood. This idea that if you're alone, you must be lonely. But those two things aren't the same. You can be surrounded by people and still feel incredibly lonely. And you can be by yourself and feel deeply content. Think about it. There's a big difference between choosing your own company and being trapped in it. The first feels freeing. The second feels painful. And if you're someone who's entering this new chapter of life with fewer people around, here's the good news. You have the choice now. The freedom to design your days without apology or pressure. You get to decide what brings you joy, without worrying about pleasing anyone else. It might mean long walks at your own pace, stopping to admire the flowers, or sitting on a bench to watch the sky change colors. It might mean picking up a book you've been meaning to read for years. It might mean dancing in your kitchen, listening to the music you loved when you were 20. It might even mean talking to yourself. And yes, it's perfectly okay to do that. You're great company. One of the most beautiful things about getting older is that you start to see through all the noise. You recognize what truly matters and what doesn't. And sometimes you realize that trying to hold on to every friendship, every obligation, every social circle, well, it can feel more like a burden than a blessing. That doesn't mean you've become cold or distant. It means you're honoring your energy. You're choosing peace over people-pleasing. You're letting go of guilt that doesn't belong to you. And that's not loneliness. That's strength. Now, of course, there may be moments when you miss having someone to talk to. That's natural. We're human. We're wired to connect. But connection comes in many forms. It doesn't always have to be a lifelong friend or a constant companion. Sometimes, it's a smile from a stranger at the grocery store. A friendly hello from your mail carrier. A moment of warmth shared with someone passing by on the street. When you open yourself up to those small connections, they start to add up. And over time, they fill your world with quiet joy. They remind you that you're still a part of something. This big, beautiful, breathing life, even if you're walking your path a little more quietly now. And here's the thing. Being alone gives you time to reconnect with you. Think about how many years you spent tending to others. Maybe you raised kids, helped a spouse, cared for aging parents, or supported friends through tough times. Your time and energy were always spoken for. But now you can ask yourself, what do I love? What lights me up? What makes me feel alive? Maybe it's painting, gardening, birdwatching, writing, baking, or learning something completely new. Maybe it's nothing more than sitting in stillness with a warm cup of tea and your thoughts. There's no right or wrong answer. There's only what feels good to you. And here's something truly powerful. When you learn how to be happy alone, you become unshakable. You no longer rely on others to make you feel whole. You stop fearing quiet days, because they're no longer empty, they're rich with your own presence. That doesn't mean you shut yourself off from people entirely. It just means your sense of happiness no longer depends on them. You're not waiting on someone to call or visit just to feel valuable. You already know your worth. That kind of peace, it's rare. It's radiant. And it's something that shines from the inside out. Of course, there will always be people who don't understand. They might ask, "Aren't you lonely? Or don't you miss having friends?" And you can smile and say, "I have the most important friend I've ever had, myself." And if someone wants to walk beside you on this journey, not because they feel sorry for you, but because they truly enjoy your presence, then that's a beautiful bonus, not a necessity. You see, being happy alone doesn't mean you hate people. It means you're finally comfortable in your own skin. It means you can go to a cafe alone and savor every sip of your coffee. It means you can spend a Saturday in your garden, pulling weeds and humming to yourself, and feel a kind of joy that no crowded party could ever offer. It means you're free. And don't be surprised if that freedom makes you glow. When you're not chasing approval or clinging to connections that no longer serve you, you become lighter. Your smile becomes more genuine. Your days become simpler, but sweeter. You stop doing things out of obligation, and start doing them out of love. Love for yourself. For the little moments. For the life you've built. So if you're sitting there today, wondering if something's wrong because you don't have a bunch of friends calling or texting or inviting you out, let me tell you this. You are not broken. You are not less. And you are not missing out. You are just evolving. And evolution can feel strange at first. But it also brings clarity. And clarity brings peace. Now that we've looked at the power of solitude and the freedom it can bring, let's explore how this shift can actually make your life more meaningful, not less. So, now that we've talked about the peace and strength that can come from being alone, let's take that a step further. Let's talk about meaning. Because once you realize that you don't need a big social circle to be happy, you get to ask a more important question. What truly gives my life meaning now? This is such a powerful question. And it's one that so many people don't slow down long enough to ask. But you've got the time, the wisdom, the experience. And now, without all the noise of trying to keep up with everyone else's expectations, you have the space to really explore it. See, meaning doesn't come from having a calendar packed with lunch dates. It doesn't come from how many people send you birthday cards or whether your phone buzzes every few minutes. It comes from how you feel when you wake up in the morning. It comes from the little things you do that bring a quiet smile to your face, even when no one's watching. Maybe that's tending to your garden. Maybe it's journaling your thoughts in the morning sun. Maybe it's listening to your favorite old records, or going for a gentle stroll and feeling the breeze on your face. These small, simple moments often hold more meaning than years of surface-level socializing ever could. And once you begin to really notice these moments, not just see them but feel them, you start to fall in love with your own company. You start to understand that being alone is not a void to be filled. It's a canvas. And you're the artist now. For many of us, especially those in our later years, there's a quiet grieving process that comes with change. We might not even realize we're grieving. But we feel it, when friendships fade, when routines shift, when the world we knew doesn't feel quite the same. And part of healing from that loss is recognizing that it's okay to let go. It's okay if certain people drift away. It's okay if you no longer feel drawn to the same crowds, the same conversations, the same commitments. It doesn't make you antisocial. It makes you authentic. You're not trying to be who you used to be. You're finally letting yourself become who you are. And you know what's interesting? When you start to live like this, more rooted in your own truth, more present in your daily life, you actually start attracting better connections. Not necessarily more of them, but deeper ones. Because you're no longer reaching out from a place of lack or loneliness. You're reaching from a place of strength. And people can feel that. Sometimes, it even shifts your relationships with those who are already in your life. Maybe your children, your neighbors, or the people you casually see at the store. When you stop needing their approval or their time to feel whole, the dynamic changes. You begin to show up more fully, more honestly, and that opens the door for real connection. But, and this is important, you also learn not to settle. You learn to be okay with silence instead of small talk. You learn to say no without guilt. And you learn that your time and energy are precious, and don't need to be spent just to fill space. I'll tell you something I've heard more times than I can count from people over 70. I wish I had learned to enjoy my own company earlier in life. Because once you do, you stop waiting. You stop hoping someone else will make your life better. And instead, you start doing it yourself. That might mean taking yourself out for a meal and not feeling the slightest bit awkward about it. It might mean sitting at home with a jigsaw puzzle and a cup of cocoa, perfectly content. It might mean talking to your dog, your plants, or even the moon, and feeling like you're in the best company possible. You start noticing things other people miss. The rhythm of your own breath, the way light filters through the curtains, the smell of something baking in the oven. You slow down. And in that stillness, life opens up in a whole new way. And I want to say something else here, something gentle, but honest. There's a lot of pressure in our world to stay social. You hear it all the time, right? That you need to stay active, stay involved, join groups, attend events. And if that lights you up, then by all means, do it. But if it drains you, if it feels forced or exhausting, then it's okay to say, that's not for me. There's no rule that says fulfillment has to come from others. Sometimes, the richest, most rewarding moments are the ones you spend in solitude, reflecting, creating, resting, or just being. That's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to celebrate. And if, by chance, you do feel the ache of loneliness from time to time, because let's be honest, we all do, it doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're human. The key is not to fear that feeling, but to meet it with curiosity. Ask yourself, what am I really needing in this moment? Maybe it's connection, but maybe it's just comfort, or movement, or a bit of nature, or even just a nap. When you get to know yourself this well, you start realizing that you already hold so many of the answers you've been searching for. And that's where real confidence comes from, not from others telling you you're enough, but from knowing it in your bones. And let's talk about another important piece here. Purpose. One of the biggest myths about aging is that your purpose somehow expires after a certain age. As if once you retire, or once the kids grow up, or once you stop doing all the things you used to do, you're no longer needed. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Your purpose may shift, sure. It may not look like what it did in your 30s or 40s, but it's still there. And being alone can actually help you see it more clearly. When you're not distracted by everyone else's demands, you start tuning in to what really lights you up. Maybe it's sharing your stories, your life, your memories, your wisdom. Maybe it's crafting, or cooking, or volunteering in small, meaningful ways. Maybe it's simply being a kind and calm presence in a chaotic world. That's purpose, too. Purpose isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet and steady, like a candle flickering in the dark. But make no mistake, it's still powerful. You're still powerful. You're still becoming. And maybe one of the greatest gifts of being alone after 70 is this. You finally realize that you don't have to prove anything anymore. You don't have to compete. You don't have to impress. You don't have to explain. You just get to be. And when you can sit with yourself in that way, with kindness, with patience, with gentle curiosity, you begin to build a kind of inner peace that no one can take away from you. The kind that holds you steady on hard days. The kind that makes simple moments feel sacred. The kind that reminds you, you're never truly alone when you're at peace with yourself. Next, we'll dive even deeper into what it looks like to live joyfully in your own company, and how to cultivate a daily life that's not just bearable, but beautiful. Now that we've been talking about all the inner strength and quiet joy that can come from being on your own, let's really bring it home. Because this, This is the heart of it. Building a life that feels full, even if it's not full of people. Creating your own kind of happiness. One that doesn't rely on who calls you or how many chairs are filled around the table. Let's be honest. Happiness doesn't always come from big, dramatic things. More often than not, it comes from rhythm. From simple, daily rituals that feel good to you. The kind that ground you, remind you of who you are, and make you smile, even if no one else is around to see it. That could be something as small as starting your morning with a quiet cup of tea and watching the birds outside. Or reading a few pages of a book that pulls you into another world. Or writing down your thoughts in a notebook, not because anyone else will read them, but just because it helps you feel more like you. You begin to realize that every day doesn't need to be filled with plans to be meaningful. Sometimes, the best days are the ones where nothing big happens, where you just feel calm, settled, unhurried. That's something so many people chase their whole lives, and here you are, living it. But it's also okay to say that some days might feel a little empty. That's real too. Maybe a holiday passes by and no one visits. Maybe the phone stays quiet for a few days longer than you'd like. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It just means you're in a season of life where connection looks different. And instead of resisting that, what if you leaned into it? What if you gave yourself permission to fill your time with things that matter to you, regardless of whether they make sense to someone else? You could start a little project, something you've always wanted to try. Painting, sewing, woodworking, baking bread from scratch. Not because you're trying to sell it or show it off, but simply for the joy of creating. Or maybe it's a walk you take every evening, just to feel the air change. Maybe it's lighting a candle in the evening, listening to music that makes you feel young again, or putting your hands in the dirt and planting something that will bloom in the months to come. There's a certain kind of magic in building a life that's not performative. A life where you do things just because they feel good. Where your days are filled with small pleasures and tiny joys. Where your happiness isn't up for debate or dependent on other people's attention. And here's something else that might surprise you. When you really start to enjoy your own company, your standards go up. You stop saying yes to relationships that feel one-sided. You stop answering calls that drain you. You stop tolerating things that chip away at your peace. You stop settling. And that kind of self-respect. It's powerful. It creates a kind of quiet confidence. You walk a little taller. You breathe a little deeper. You smile a little more. Not because anyone told you to, but because you feel good in your own skin. Now, that doesn't mean you close your heart to people. Not at all. It just means you stop chasing connections that no longer serve you. You stop trying to fix things that want to stay broken. And you start giving your energy to things that actually give something back. Sometimes, that might look like a single deep conversation with someone who gets you, even if you only see them every few months. Sometimes, it might be sharing a story with a grandchild, or helping a neighbor with their groceries, or just exchanging a kind smile with the cashier who remembers your name. Those small moments, they're enough. You don't need to be surrounded by crowds to feel seen. You don't need to be invited to every gathering to feel included. You just need to be fully present in the life you have, and that starts with learning to love it, even if it's quieter than it used to be. And let's not forget, choosing solitude can be one of the most freeing, healing decisions you'll ever make. It's a kind of freedom that says, I know myself. I trust myself. I enjoy myself. And when you live from that place, everything shifts. You begin to realize that peace is more valuable than popularity. That contentment is richer than constant stimulation. That knowing yourself is a greater gift than being known by everyone else. So if you're someone who's been feeling like maybe you've lost something because your social circle has gotten smaller, or maybe even disappeared, I want to tell you, you haven't lost you. And that's the part that matters most. You can still wake up with purpose. You can still laugh out loud when something delights you. You can still dance in your kitchen, or sing in the shower, or talk to your cat like they're your roommate. You can still live a full, joyful, deeply meaningful life. Right here, right now, with the person you see in the mirror. And I hope you do. I hope you embrace the freedom that comes with not needing approval. I hope you find joy in the quiet. I hope you fall in love with your own company. Because at the end of the day, that's what truly lasts. People may come and go. Circumstances may change. But your relationship with yourself, that's your lifelong companion. That's the one you take with you wherever you go. So nurture it. Respect it. Celebrate it. And if ever you find yourself feeling unsure, wondering if being alone after 70 means you've somehow missed out, just remember this. There are entire worlds within you still waiting to be discovered. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not alone in the way that matters most. You are becoming. Every single day. And you are allowed to do it at your own pace, in your own space, without needing anyone else to validate it. So go ahead and light that candle. Take that walk. Talk to yourself kindly. Treat your life like it matters, because it does. And if this message has touched something in you today, I hope you'll share your story in the comments. Because even though we're all in different places, hearing from someone who understands, who's been through the same thing, can be the most comforting reminder that we're never truly walking this path alone. If you found this helpful, give the video a like. It helps us reach more beautiful souls just like you. And if you want more uplifting, thoughtful content about living your best life after 60, don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell so you never miss a video. Here's to the quiet joy of solitude. Here's to the strength in being your own best friend. And here's to living your most peaceful, authentic life, at any age. You've earned it. And you deserve it. Always.